What if I told you that the endless chase for respect from others is silently eroding the one thing that truly matters: your respect for yourself? We live in a world obsessed with external validation, likes on social media, approval from colleagues, admiration from friends, or even a nod from a stranger. But here's the truth, and it's a hard one. Trying to earn respect from others is the fastest way to lose your own. This isn't just an opinion, it's a principle rooted in the timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophy, a guide to living with dignity, purpose, and unshakable inner strength. Welcome to this journey. Today, we're diving deep into a truth that can set you free. Respect isn't something you demand from others. It's something you cultivate within yourself. By living rightly, you don't need their applause, their praise, or their validation to stand tall. All you need is to live in a way that makes you proud of who you are. This is the Stoic way. This is the path to true dignity. Let's start with a question. How much of your energy do you spend trying to prove yourself to others? Maybe it's the way you dress to impress, the words you choose to sound intelligent, or the sacrifices you make to fit into someone else's idea of worthy. We've all been there, myself included. I remember a time when I obsessed over what my boss thought of my work, staying late, tweaking every detail, hoping for a single word of praise. But when it didn't come, I felt hollow. It wasn't just about the praise. It was about the sinking realization that I'd tied my worth to someone else's opinion. That's a trap. And if you're watching this, you might have fallen into it too. The Stoics philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca knew this trap well. They lived in a world not so different from ours, where status, power, and public opinion could make or break a person, yet they taught something radical. Your worth isn't determined by what others think of you. It's determined by how you choose to live, by the virtues you uphold, by the way you carry yourself through life's challenges. Epictetus once said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." Think about that. Your dignity, your self-respect, is yours to guard. No one can take it from you unless you let them. This video isn't about dismissing the value of relationships or community. We're not saying you should live like a hermit, indifferent to the world. Instead, it's about redefining respect. It's about understanding that true respect starts from within. When you live with integrity, when you align your actions with your values, when you refuse to compromise your principles for fleeting approval, that's when you earn the only respect that matters, your own. So why does this matter? Because we're drowning in a culture that thrives on external validation. Social media bombards us with metrics, likes, follows, shares that trick us into believing our worth is tied to a number. Workplaces push us to chase titles, rises, or recognition, as if those define our value. Even in our personal lives, we often bend over backward to win the respect of family, friends, or partners, only to feel emptier when their approval doesn't fill the void. The Stoics would call this a misjudgment, a failure to see what's truly in our control. Here's the core of today's message. Respect isn't something you beg for, bargain for, or borrow. It's something you build by living a life of virtue, by making choices that align with who you want to be. When you do that, the need for others' approval fades. You become unshakable. You become free. In this video, we're going to explore what it means to live with Stoic dignity. We'll break down why chasing external respect is a losing game, how the Stoics mastered self-respect, and what you can do starting today to cultivate a sense of worth that no one can take away. We'll draw on the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, who ruled an empire, yet found peace in his own mind. We'll look at Epictetus, a former slave who became one of history's greatest teachers by refusing to let others define him, and we'll share practical steps you can apply to your life, whether you're navigating a toxic workplace, a challenging relationship, or just the noise of modern life. But before we go further, let me ask you to pause for a moment. Think about the last time you felt disrespected. Maybe someone overlooked your efforts, criticized you unfairly, or ignored you entirely. How did it feel? Did you try to prove them wrong, to win them over? Or did you remind yourself that their opinion doesn't define you? If you're like most of us, you probably felt the sting, and maybe you let it linger longer than it deserved. That's okay. Recognizing it is the first step. The Stoics teach us that we can't control others' actions, but we can control how we respond. And that response starts with choosing self-respect over external validation. By the end of this video, you'll have a roadmap to reclaim your dignity, to live in a way that makes you proud, and to let go of the need for anyone else's approval. This isn't about arrogance or isolation. It's about strength, the kind of strength that comes from knowing who you are and standing firm in that truth. So, stick with me. In the next part, we'll dive into why our modern obsession with external respect is setting us up for failure, and what the Stoics can teach us about breaking free. If this resonates with you, consider subscribing and hitting the bell so you don't miss the rest of this journey. Let's begin building a life where the only respect you need is your own. Let's talk about the world. We live in a world that's wired to make us crave respect from others. From the moment we wake up, we're bombarded with signals telling us that our worth depends on what others think. Social media notifications light up our phones, each one a tiny hit of validation or a sting of rejection. At work, we chase promotions, accolades, or even a simple good job from a boss. In our personal lives, we bend over backward to win approval from friends, family, or even strangers. But here's the question. When was the last time all that chasing left you feeling truly fulfilled? If you're honest, you'll probably admit it often leaves you exhausted, insecure, and further from the person you want to be. This is the modern trap. We've been conditioned to believe that respect is something we earn from others, like a prize to be won or a badge to be pinned on our chest. Scroll through Instagram, and you'll see influencers flaunting perfect lives, implying that respect comes from likes, followers, or a curated image. Turn on the news, and you'll hear about people clawing their way to status, as if a title or a paycheck defines their value. Even in our day-to-day interactions, we feel the pressure to prove ourselves to be funnier, smarter, more successful, more likable. But the Stoics would look at this frenzy and shake their heads. They'd call it a distraction from what really matters, the respect you have for yourself. Let's break this down. Why do we chase external respect so relentlessly? Part of it is human nature. We're social creatures, wired to seek connection and belonging. Thousands of years ago, being respected by the tribe meant survival. Exclusion could mean death. But today, that instinct has been hijacked. Social media platforms exploit it, turning likes and comments into a currency of worth. Corporations dangle promotions and bonuses to keep us striving for their approval. Even our relationships can become battlegrounds where we fight for validation, hoping a partner or friend will affirm our value. The result? We end up living for others, not for ourselves. Consider this. Every time you tweak your words to impress someone, every time you stay silent to avoid conflict, every time you chase a goal just to prove a point, you're handing over a piece of your self-respect. It's like giving someone else the keys to your inner peace. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote, "How much time he gains who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does or thinks, but only at what he does himself." He's telling us to stop outsourcing our worth. The moment you let someone else's opinion define you, you've already lost. Let's make this real. Imagine you're at work, pouring your heart into a project. You stay late, perfect every detail, and present it with pride, but your boss barely glances at it, offering a curt, "It's fine," before moving on. Or worse, a colleague takes credit for your ideas, and everyone applauds them instead. How do you feel? Angry, invisible, tempted to work even harder to win their approval next time. That's the trap. You're tying your worth to their reaction, something you can't control. The Stoics would ask, why let their oversight diminish your effort? Why let their words shake your sense of self? Or think about social media. You post a photo or a thought, and the likes roll in, or they don't. If they do, you feel a rush. If they don't, you question yourself. Was it not good enough? Did I say something wrong? Before you know it, you're curating your life to fit an algorithm, not your values. This isn't respect, it's a game of numbers, and it's rigged against you. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, warned against this kind of external focus. Why should I need the approval of the crowd when I have the approval of my own conscience? He's reminding us that true respect doesn't come from a screen or a crowd. It comes from living in alignment with who you are. This chase for external respect doesn't just drain us, it distorts us. It pulls us away from our principles, our goals, our truth. I've seen it in my own life. There was a time when I obsessed over fitting in with a group of friends who valued status over substance. I changed how I talked, what I wore, even what I believed, just to feel accepted. But every step I took to win their respect felt like a step away from myself. When I finally walked away, I realized something. Their respect wasn't worth having. What I needed was to look in the mirror and be proud of the person staring back. The Stoics teach us that this modern obsession with external respect is a form of slavery. When you live for others' approval, you're not free. You're at the mercy of their whims, their biases, their moods. And here's the hard truth. No matter how hard you try, you'll never please everyone. Someone will always misunderstand you, criticize you, or overlook you. Epictetus put it bluntly. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The strength he's talking about is self-respect, the kind that doesn't waver when the world turns its back. So, what's the alternative? It's not about rejecting others or living in isolation. It's about shifting your focus inward. It's about building a foundation of self-respect so strong that no one's opinion can shake it. In the next part, we'll dive into the Stoic view on self-respect, what it really means, how philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus embodied it, and why it's the key to living a life of dignity. For now, ask yourself, where in your life are you chasing respect from others? And what would it feel like to let that go and focus on the only respect that truly matters, your own? So, we've seen how the modern world pulls us into a relentless chase for external respect, a chase that often leaves us empty, disconnected from our true selves. But what's the alternative? How do we break free from this cycle and build a life where we stand tall, regardless of what others think? This is where the Stoics come in. Their philosophy, forged over 2,000 years ago, offers a timeless blueprint for cultivating self-respect, the kind of respect that doesn't bend to the whims of the crowd, the criticism of a boss, or the silence of a social media post. Let's dive into the Stoic view on self-respect and discover why it's the foundation of a life lived with dignity. At the heart of Stoic philosophy is a simple but profound idea. Your worth is not determined by what happens outside you, but by what you choose to do within. The Stoics believed that true respect, self-respect, comes from living a life aligned with virtue. Virtue, in their view, isn't some lofty, abstract concept. It's practical. It's about courage, wisdom, justice, and self-discipline. It's about making choices that reflect the best version of yourself, even when no one is watching. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who faced the pressures of ruling an empire, wrote in his Meditations, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This is the Stoic recipe for self-respect. Act with integrity, speak with honesty, and let your actions be your measure of worth. Let's unpack this. The Stoics taught that there are things within our control and things outside it. Within our control are our thoughts, our actions, our choices. Outside our control, pretty much everything else, other people's opinions, their actions, their approval or disapproval. Epictetus, a former slave-turned-philosopher, put it starkly: there is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. When you tie your self-respect to what others think, you're building your house on sand. The moment their opinion shifts, your foundation crumbles. But when you root your self-respect in your own actions, in living virtuously, you're building on solid rock. No one can shake that. Think about what this means in practice. Self-respect, in the Stoic sense, isn't about feeling good all the time or puffing yourself up with pride. It's about knowing that you've done your best, that you've acted with integrity, even when it's hard. It's about walking away from a heated argument, not because you're weak, but because you value your peace of mind. It's about working diligently on a project, not for praise, but because it's the right thing to do. It's about saying no to a temptation, whether it's gossip, dishonesty, or cutting corners because you refuse to betray your principles. This is what Epictetus meant when he said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Your self-respect is yours to protect, and it starts with the choices you make every day." Marcus Aurelius took this idea even further. As an emperor, he was surrounded by flattery, criticism, and betrayal. Yet he wrote to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Notice the word strength. Self-respect isn't just about feeling good about yourself. It's about resilience. It's about standing firm when the world tries to pull you down. Marcus didn't need the applause of the Roman Senate to know his worth. He measured himself by his actions, by whether he ruled justly, thought clearly, and faced challenges with courage. That's the Stoic ideal, a life where your self-respect is your anchor, unshaken by the storms of external judgment. But why does this matter so much? Because self-respect is the foundation of a meaningful life. Without it, you're at the mercy of others' opinions, constantly adjusting yourself to fit their expectations. With it, you're free to make decisions based on what's right, not what's popular, free to pursue goals that matter to you, not ones that impress others, free to look in the mirror and know that even if the world doesn't see your worth, you do. The Stoics understood that self-respect isn't a gift someone hands you, it's a practice. It's a daily commitment to living in alignment with your values, no matter the cost. Let's make this concrete. Imagine you're faced with a choice. Speak up about something you believe in, even if it risks disapproval, or stay silent to keep the peace. The Stoic path is clear. Speak up, not because you need others to agree, but because staying true to yourself is the only way to maintain your dignity. Or picture yourself working on a task that no one will notice, no praise, no reward. The Stoic doesn't slack off. They asceticism. They do it because it's right, because integrity is its own reward. This is self-respect in action. The Stoics didn't just preach this, they lived it. Epictetus, born a slave, had every reason to feel inferior, yet he rose to become a teacher whose words still inspire millions. Why? Because he refused to let his circumstances define him. His self-respect came from his unwavering commitment to reason and virtue, not from his social status. Marcus Aurelius, despite his immense power, faced constant pressure to conform to the corruption of Rome. Yet he chose to live simply, to reflect deeply, to act justly, not for fame, but for himself. These men show us that self-respect is about how you choose to live, not what the world thinks of you. As we move forward, we'll explore why seeking external validation so often fails, and how the Stoics teach us to break free from that trap. For now, reflect on this. What would your life look like if you stopped chasing others' respect and focused on earning your own? The Stoics have an answer, and it's one that can change everything. Now that we've explored the Stoic view on self-respect, rooting your worth in your own actions and virtues, let's confront the trap that so many of us fall into, seeking external validation. It's a natural instinct to want others to respect us, to acknowledge our efforts, to see our value. But here's the hard truth. Chasing validation from others is a losing game. It's a path that leads to frustration, insecurity, and a life disconnected from your true self. The Stoics understood this, and their wisdom can help us see why this pursuit fails and how to break free. Let's start with why seeking external validation feels so compelling. We're wired for it. As social beings, we crave connection, acceptance, and a sense of belonging. In the past, being valued by our community meant safety and survival. But in today's world, this instinct gets hijacked. Social media turns it into a numbers game. How many likes, comments, or shares can you get? Workplaces tie validation to titles, raises, or public praise. Even in our personal lives, we often measure our worth by how others treat us. It's easy to think, if they respect me, I must be doing something right. But the Stoics would argue this is a dangerous mistake. Why does it fail? First, external validation is unreliable. People's opinions are fickle, shaped by their own biases, moods, and agendas. Think about a time you poured your heart into something, a presentation at work, a thoughtful gesture for a friend, a post you shared online. Maybe you expected praise, gratitude, or admiration, but instead you got silence, criticism, or indifference. How did that feel? Deflating. Right. That's because you placed your worth in someone else's hands. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, warned us about this. If you are ever tempted to look for outside approval, realize that you have compromised your integrity. He's saying that the moment you seek validation from others, you're giving up control over your own sense of self. Let's make this real. Picture yourself at a family gathering. You share an idea or accomplishment you're proud of, hoping for a nod of approval. Instead, a relative brushes it off or changes the subject. Suddenly, you feel small, like your effort didn't matter. Or think about posting something meaningful online, only to see it ignored, while a trivial meme gets hundreds of likes. These moments sting because we've tied our value to others' reactions. But here's the problem. You can't control how others respond. They might be distracted, envious, or simply not care. Their response isn't a measure of your worth. It's a reflection of their own perspective. Second, seeking external validation is a moving target. No matter how much you achieve, there's always someone who won't be impressed. You get the promotion, but a colleague downplays it. You hit a personal goal, but a friend barely notices. You post a picture-perfect moment, but the likes don't roll in like you hoped. The Stoics saw this as a form of madness, chasing something that keeps shifting, something you'll never fully grasp. Seneca put it this way: how much better to follow a straight course and attain a goal where the effort itself is the reward. When you seek validation from others, you're signing up for a race with no finish line. Third, and perhaps most importantly, chasing external validation pulls you away from your own values. Every time you adjust your behavior to win someone's approval, you're stepping further from who you are. I've been there. Early in my career, I worked for a boss who valued flash over substance. To impress him, I started prioritizing style over quality. Even though it felt wrong, I got the pat on the back I wanted, but I felt hollow. I wasn't proud of my work. I wasn't proud of myself. The Stoics would say, I was betraying my own principles for a fleeting reward. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is better to be despised by others while remaining true to yourself than to be loved by others while losing yourself." That's the cost of external validation. It often comes at the expense of your integrity. Let's look at another example. Imagine you're in a relationship where you constantly seek your partner's approval. You change your opinions to match theirs, hide your quirks to seem more lovable, or sacrifice your goals to keep them happy. At first, it might feel like you're building a stronger bond, but over time, you start to lose yourself. You're no longer living for you. You're living for their validation. And when that validation fades, as it often does, you're left with nothing but resentment and self-doubt. The Stoics teach us that true respect, self-respect, comes from staying true to your own path, not bending to someone else's. So, why does this matter? Because seeking external validation traps you in a cycle of dependence. You become a puppet, pulled by the strings of others' opinions. You lose the freedom to make choices based on what's right for you. You lose the confidence to stand firm in your values. And worst of all, you lose the ability to look in the mirror and feel proud of who you are. The Stoics saw this as a form of slavery, not to chains or masters, but to the judgments of others. Epictetus asked, "What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears." He's reminding us that life is too short to waste on chasing something as fleeting as external approval. In the next part, we'll explore how to break free from this trap by building Stoic dignity from within, practical steps to cultivate self-respect that no one can take away. For now, take a moment to reflect. Where in your life are you seeking validation from others? And what would it feel like to let that go and focus on earning your own respect? The Stoics have a roadmap, and it's one that leads to freedom. We've seen how chasing external validation is a trap, one that leaves us dependent, unfulfilled, and disconnected from our true selves. But what's the alternative? How do we build a sense of respect that doesn't rely on others' opinions, a dignity that stands firm, no matter what the world throws at us? This is where Stoic philosophy shines. The Stoics didn't just diagnose the problem, they gave us a practical roadmap for building self-respect from within. It's not about grand gestures or fleeting moments of pride. It's about living a life aligned with virtue, day in and day out. Let's explore how to cultivate Stoic dignity and make it the cornerstone of your life. The Stoics believed that self-respect is earned through action, through consistently choosing what's right over what's easy. This starts with understanding what you can control. According to Epictetus, some things are in our control and others not. Things in our control are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever, are our own actions. This is the foundation. You can't control what others think of you, but you can control how you think, how you act, and how you respond. Building Stoic dignity means focusing on these choices, making them deliberate, principled, and true to your values. So, how do you start? First, define your virtues. The Stoics identified 4 core virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline. Wisdom is about seeing the world clearly, understanding what matters, and making sound decisions. Courage is about acting rightly, even when it's uncomfortable or risky. Justice is about treating others fairly, even when they don't reciprocate. Self-discipline is about mastering your impulses, staying true to your goals, despite temptation or distraction. Take a moment to ask yourself, what do these virtues look like in my life? Maybe wisdom means pausing before reacting to criticism. Maybe courage means speaking up for what you believe, even if it's unpopular. Write these down. Make them your guide. Next, align your actions with those virtues. This is where self-respect is built in the small, consistent choices you make every day. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Your mind will take the shape of what you frequently hold in thought. For the human spirit is colored by such impressions." If you want to respect yourself, fill your days with actions you can be proud of. Let's say you're tempted to gossip about a co-worker to fit in. Instead, choose silence or kindness, not because you want their approval, but because justice and self-discipline matter to you. Or maybe you're working on a project no one will notice. Do it well, anyway, because that's what wisdom demands. These choices, though small, stack up. They shape who you are. Let's make this practical. Imagine you're in a meeting, and someone dismisses your idea. Your instinct might be to fight for their respect, or shrink in embarrassment. A Stoic would pause, reflect, and choose a response rooted in virtue. Maybe that means calmly restating your point with confidence, not to win them over, but to honor your own perspective. Or maybe it means letting it go. Knowing their dismissal doesn't diminish your worth. This is self-respect in action, acting in a way that aligns with your principles, not someone else's opinion. Another key to building Stoic dignity is practicing self-reflection. The Stoics were big on this. At the end of each day, Marcus Aurelius would sit down and review his actions, asking himself, did I live according to my values? Where did I fall short? How can I do better tomorrow? This isn't about beating yourself up. It's about taking responsibility for your growth. Try this. Tonight, take 5 minutes to journal. Write down one moment where you acted with integrity and one where you didn't. Maybe you stayed calm during a tough conversation. That's a win. Maybe you snapped at someone out of frustration. That's a chance to improve. This practice builds self-awareness, and self-awareness builds self-respect. But what about when it's hard? Building dignity isn't always easy, especially when life tests you. Maybe you're in a toxic workplace where your efforts are ignored. Maybe you're in a relationship where you feel undervalued. The Stoics would say, focus on what you can control. You can't make others respect you, but you can respect yourself by refusing to compromise your values. Seneca wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that things are difficult. Dare to live by your principles, even when it's tough. That's where true dignity is born." Let's look at an example. Imagine you're trying to improve your health, but friends mock your new habits: eating better, exercising, saying no to late-night drinks. Seeking their validation might tempt you to give up, to blend in. A Stoic would stay the course, not because they need to prove anything, but because self-discipline is its own reward. I've been there. I once committed to a goal that others didn't understand. Their skepticism stung, but I kept going not to show them up, but because I wanted to respect myself. Each step I took built a quiet confidence that no one could take away. Finally, Stoic dignity comes from letting go of outcomes. You can't control whether others respect you, but you can control whether you respect yourself. Epictetus said, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens. Do your best. Live virtuously, and let the chips fall where they may." When you live this way, you build a foundation of self-respect that no criticism, no rejection, no failure can shake. In the next part, we'll dive into stories from Stoic philosophers, how figures like Seneca and Epictetus lived these principles in their own lives, even under immense pressure. For now, ask yourself, what's one action you can take today to build your self-respect? One choice, however small, that aligns with your values. The Stoics would tell you, start there. That's where dignity begins. We've talked about building self-respect through Stoic principles, focusing on what you can control, aligning your actions with virtue, and letting go of the need for external validation. But these ideas aren't just abstract theories. They were lived by real people facing real challenges. The Stoic philosophers didn't just write about dignity, they embodied it, often in the face of hardship, betrayal, and even death. Today, we'll dive into the lives of two Stoic giants, Seneca and Epictetus, to see how they cultivated self-respect in circumstances that would break most of us. Their stories aren't just history lessons, they're proof that you can live with dignity no matter what life throws at you. Let's start with Epictetus, a man whose life began in chains. Born a slave in the Roman Empire, Epictetus had every reason to feel powerless. He wasn't just denied freedom, he was subject to the whims of a master who could be cruel or kind on a whim. Yet, Epictetus refused to let his circumstances define him. He focused on what he could control: his mind, his attitude, his choices. One story stands out. His master once twisted his leg in anger, threatening to break it. Epictetus calmly responded, "If you keep twisting, it will break." When the leg snapped, he simply said, "I told you it would." This wasn't defiance for the sake of defiance. It was a profound act of self-respect. Epictetus refused to let pain or fear compromise his inner strength. Eventually, Epictetus gained his freedom and became one of history's greatest teachers. But his self-respect wasn't built on status or recognition. It came from his unwavering commitment to virtue. He taught that no one could harm your soul unless you allowed it. In his discourses, he wrote, "What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears." This wasn't pessimism, it was a call to focus on what matters. Epictetus didn't waste energy seeking his master's approval or society's respect. He earned his own by living with integrity, by choosing reason over anger, and by teaching others to do the same. His life shows us that self-respect isn't about what you have, it's about who you choose to be. Now, let's turn to Seneca, a man at the opposite end of the social spectrum. As a wealthy senator and advisor to Emperor Nero, Seneca had power, influence, and the admiration of Rome's elite. But wealth and status didn't shield him from struggle. Nero was volatile, prone to paranoia and cruelty, and serving him was like walking a tightrope. Seneca faced constant pressure to compromise his principles, flatter the emperor, bend the truth, or turn a blind eye to injustice. Yet he strove to live by Stoic virtues, even in a corrupt court. In his letters to Lucilius, he wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that things are difficult." Seneca's self-respect came from daring to stay true to his values, even when it was dangerous. One moment defines Seneca's commitment to dignity: when Nero, consumed by paranoia, ordered him to take his own life. Seneca didn't beg or plead. He accepted his fate with calm resolve, comforting his friends and family as he prepared to die. He even used his final moments to dictate philosophical reflections, ensuring his wisdom would outlive him. This wasn't about pride or defiance, it was about self-respect. Seneca knew that no one, not even an emperor, could take away his inner worth. By facing death with courage and clarity, he showed us what it means to live and die with dignity. What can we learn from these men? Epictetus teaches us that self-respect is possible in any circumstance. Whether you're at the bottom of society or facing personal struggles, you have the power to choose your response. Your job might feel like a cage. Your relationships might test your patience. But like Epictetus, you can focus on your own actions and find freedom within. Seneca, on the other hand, shows us that even wealth and status can't replace inner dignity. No amount of external success matters if you betray your principles. Both men lived in a world that tried to define them by slavery, by power, by others' expectations, yet they defined themselves through their choices. Let's bring this to our lives. Think about a challenge you're facing, a job where you feel undervalued, a relationship where you're not seen, or a moment when you're tempted to compromise for approval. Epictetus would ask, what can you control? Maybe it's how you respond to criticism, how you carry yourself, or whether you stay true to your values. Seneca would remind you to dare greatly, to act with integrity, even when it's hard. Their stories aren't just inspiring, they're a call to action. Self-respect isn't something you find in the world, it's something you build through your choices, just as they did. In my own life, I've had moments where I leaned on these lessons. I once faced a situation where I could have taken the easy path, agreeing with a group to avoid conflict, even though I knew it was wrong. But I thought of Epictetus, staying calm in the face of pain, and Seneca, standing firm under pressure. I chose to speak my truth, not for their approval, but for my own peace of mind. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. That choice strengthened my self-respect, and it's a strength I carry with me. In the next part, we'll bring these ideas into the modern world, looking at how Stoic principles apply to our daily lives, work, relationships, social media, and more. For now, reflect on this. What would Epictetus or Seneca do in your shoes? How would they choose to earn their own respect? Their lives show us that dignity is always within reach, no matter the odds. We've explored how Stoic philosophers like Epictetus and Seneca built unshakable self-respect through their choices, even in the face of immense challenges. But their world, ancient Rome, with its emperors and slaves, might feel distant from our own. So, how do these Stoic principles apply to our lives today? How do we cultivate self-respect in the chaos of modern work, relationships, and the relentless noise of social media? Let's dive into real-life examples that show how Stoic wisdom can guide us to live with dignity in today's world, no matter the circumstances. Let's start with the workplace, a common battleground for seeking external validation. Imagine you're working in a high-pressure job where your efforts often go unnoticed. You put in long hours, perfect every detail, but your boss barely acknowledges you. Or worse, a coworker takes credit for your work. The instinct is to fight for recognition, to work harder, speak louder, or prove your worth. But the Stoics would urge you to pause. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Instead of chasing your boss's approval, focus on what you can control. Doing your work with integrity. Show up. Give your best, not for praise, but because that's who you are." When you tie your self-respect to your effort, not their reaction, you're free. I've seen this in action. A friend of mine, Sarah, worked for a company where her contributions were consistently overlooked. She was tempted to quit or lash out, but instead, she took a stoic approach. She asked herself, "Am I doing my best? Am I acting with honesty and diligence?" By focusing on her own standards, she found peace. Eventually, her consistent excellence earned her a better opportunity elsewhere, but more importantly, it earned her self-respect. She didn't need her boss's validation to know her worth. You can do the same. Next time you're overlooked at work, don't let it shake you. Do your job well because it's right, not because it's rewarded. Now, let's talk about relationships, where the pull for external validation can be even stronger. Picture this. You're in a friendship or romantic relationship where you feel undervalued. Maybe your partner dismisses your opinions, or your friend only reaches out when they need something. The temptation is to bend over backward, to win their respect, agreeing with them, hiding your true self, or sacrificing your needs. But this erodes your dignity. Epictetus said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." A Stoic would focus on what's in their control, treating others with kindness and respect, but not at the cost of their own values. If you're in a one-sided relationship, set boundaries. Speak your truth. Walk away if you must, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. I've been there. I once stayed in a friendship that drained me because I wanted to be the good friend who was always there. But I realized I was losing myself, trying to earn their approval. Taking a page from Seneca, who advised, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you," I chose to distance myself. It wasn't easy, but it was liberating. By prioritizing my own dignity, I built stronger relationships with people who valued me for who I am. Ask yourself, are your relationships built on mutual respect? Or are you chasing someone's approval? The Stoic path is to act justly, but never to beg for respect. Then there's social media, a modern arena where the chase for validation is relentless. You post a photo, a thought, or a milestone, and you wait for the likes to roll in. When they don't, you question yourself. When they do, you feel a fleeting high, but it's never enough. The Stoics would see this as a trap. Seneca wrote, "Why should I need the approval of the crowd when I have the approval of my own conscience? Instead of measuring your worth by likes or followers, measure it by your intentions. Did you share something true to you? Did you act with authenticity? If so, that's enough." A practical tip: next time you post, decide beforehand that your goal is to express yourself, not to chase reactions. That shift alone builds self-respect. Let's tie this together with a personal example. A few years ago, I faced a situation where I was pitching an idea to a group of colleagues. I poured my heart into it, but they shot it down, some even mocking it. My first instinct was to defend myself, to prove I was right. But I remembered Epictetus's words, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." I chose to listen calmly, take their feedback, and move forward, focusing on improving my work rather than winning their approval. That choice didn't change their minds, but it changed me. I walked away knowing I'd acted with dignity, and that was enough. These examples work. Relationships. Social media show that Stoic self-respect isn't about ignoring the world. It's about engaging with it on your terms, rooted in your values. Whether you're facing a dismissive boss, a one-sided friendship, or the pressure of a screen, the Stoic approach is the same. Focus on what you can control, act with virtue, and let go of the rest. This builds a quiet strength that no one can take away. In the next part, we'll share practical exercises You can start today to cultivate this Stoic self-respect in your own life. For now, think about one area: work, relationships, or social media, where you're chasing external respect. What would it look like to shift your focus to earning your own? The Stoics would say, start there, and you're already on the path to dignity. We've seen how Stoic principles can transform the way we approach work, relationships, and social media, shifting our focus from external validation to self-respect. But knowing the theory is one thing, living it is another. The Stoics were practical philosophers, and they believed that wisdom comes through action. To build self-respect, you need to practice it day by day, choice by choice. In this section, we're going to share practical exercises rooted in Stoic philosophy that you can start today to cultivate a sense of dignity that no one can take away. These aren't just ideas, they're tools to help you live with strength and purpose. Exercice 1. The control check. The Stoics teach us to focus on what's in our control and let go of what isn't. Epictetus said, "There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will." This first exercise is about applying that wisdom. Each morning, take 5 minutes to write down 3 things you can control today: your thoughts, your actions, your responses, and one thing you can't, like someone else's opinion or behavior. For example, you might write, I can control how I prepare for my meeting, how I respond to criticism, and whether I stay calm under pressure. I can't control whether my boss praises me. Then, commit to focusing only on the things within your control. When you catch yourself worrying about others' approval, gently redirect your energy to your own actions. This practice builds self-respect by grounding you in what you can actually influence. Exercice 2. The virtue journal. Self-respect grows when you align your actions with your values. The Stoics emphasized 4 core virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline. At the end of each day, spend 10 minutes journaling about how you lived these virtues. Ask yourself, did I act with wisdom today? Did I make thoughtful decisions? Did I show courage, even in small ways, like speaking up or saying no? Did I treat others fairly? Did I stay disciplined, resisting temptations or distractions? Write down one example for each virtue, even if it's small. Maybe you listened patiently to a friend, justice, or stuck to your workout plan, self-discipline. If you fell short, note that too, but focus on how you'll improve tomorrow. Marcus Aurelius used this practice to reflect nightly, writing, ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary? This exercise helps you measure yourself by your own standards, not others. Exercice 3. The pause and reflect. Life moves fast, and it's easy to react impulsively, to snap at a rude comment, chase likes online, or bend to please someone. The Stoics practiced pausing to regain control. Next time you feel the urge to seek validation or react to disrespect, try this. Take a deep breath, count to 5, and ask, what would a person I respect do? Imagine someone like Seneca, staying calm under Nero's threats, or Epictetus, unshaken by his master's cruelty. Then, choose a response that aligns with your values. For example, if a colleague dismisses your idea, instead of arguing to prove yourself, calmly restate your point or let it go. Knowing your worth isn't tied to their approval. This pause builds self-respect by giving you the space to act intentionally, not reactively. Exercice 4. The social media detox. Social media is a validation trap, tempting us to measure our worth by likes and comments. To break free, try a Stoic-inspired detox. For 1 week, Post nothing, or if you do, post without checking the response. Before sharing, ask, am I posting this for myself or for others' approval? Seneca wrote, why should I need the approval of the crowd when I have the approval of my own conscience? If you're tempted to check likes, remind yourself, your goal is to express your truth, not to chase reactions. Use that time to do something meaningful. Read, journal, or help someone. I tried this once, and it was eye-opening. Without the pull of notifications, I felt freer to focus on what mattered to me. This exercise strengthens self-respect by detaching your worth from digital applause. Exercice 5. The act of courage. Courage is a Stoic virtue, and self-respect often grows from doing what's right, even when it's hard. Each day, choose one small act of courage that aligns with your values. It could be speaking up in a meeting, setting a boundary with a friend, or saying no to something that doesn't serve you. For example, I once had to tell a colleague I couldn't take on extra work. Even though I feared disappointing them, it felt uncomfortable, but it was the right choice for my well-being. Afterward, I felt stronger, prouder. Epictetus said, you become what you give your attention to. By giving attention to courageous acts, you build a habit of self-respect. These exercises aren't about perfection, they're about progress. Start small, be consistent, and watch how they transform the way you see yourself. When you focus on what you can control, align with your virtues. Pause before reacting. Detach from external validation and act with courage. You're building a foundation of dignity that no one can shake. In the next part, we'll explore how to stay strong when others disrespect you, using Stoic tools to maintain your self-respect under pressure. For now, pick one of these exercises to try today. Which one resonates with you? Start there, and take the first step toward a life where your own respect is enough. We've explored how to build self-respect through Stoic principles, from aligning your actions with virtue to practicing daily exercises that strengthen your inner dignity. But life isn't always smooth. There will be moments when others disrespect you, when your efforts are ignored, your words dismissed, or your character questioned. These challenges can shake even the strongest resolve. How do you maintain self-respect when the world seems determined to tear it down? The Stoics have answers, and their wisdom can guide us through setbacks with unshakable strength. Let's dive into how to face disrespect and adversity while holding fast to your dignity. The first Stoic lesson for overcoming challenges is to recognize what's in your control. When someone disrespects you, a co-worker belittles your work, a friend ignores your boundaries, or a stranger mocks you online, it's natural to feel hurt or angry. But Epictetus reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Their words or actions are outside your control. Your response, however, is entirely yours. Instead of letting disrespect define you, choose a response that reflects your values. Maybe that means staying calm, addressing the issue with clarity, or walking away with your head held high. By focusing on your response, you protect your self-respect, no matter how others behave. Let's make this concrete. Imagine you're in a meeting, and a colleague interrupts you, dismissing your idea with a condescending remark. Your instinct might be to snap back or shrink in embarrassment. A Stoic would pause and ask, what can I control here? You can't control their rudeness, but you can control whether you respond with anger or dignity. Try this. Take a deep breath. Restate your point calmly, and move on. You're not proving yourself to them. You're proving to yourself that you can rise above. I've done this in similar situations. Once, a client criticized my work unfairly in front of others. Instead of arguing, I listened, nodded, and later addressed the issue privately. I walked away knowing I'd acted with integrity, and that was enough. Another Stoic tool is reframing setbacks as opportunities. The Stoics called this the art of turning obstacles into advantages. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." When someone disrespects you, see it as a chance to practice patience, courage, or wisdom. For example, if a friend ignores your efforts to help them, don't take it personally. Instead, use it as an opportunity to practice justice. Continue to act kindly, but set boundaries to protect your peace. This mindset shifts the power back to you. Disrespect doesn't diminish you. It's a chance to strengthen your character. Let's talk about social media, where disrespect can feel amplified. You share something meaningful, and someone leaves a harsh comment or trolls you. It stings, and the temptation is to fire back or obsess over it. But Seneca would ask, why should I need the approval of the crowd when I have the approval of my own conscience? Instead of engaging, try this Stoic exercise. Read the comment, acknowledge the emotion it triggers, and then let it go. Remind yourself that their words reflect their perspective, not your worth. I've faced this myself. A negative comment on a project I shared online hit hard. But I remembered Epictetus's words, "Another's opinion does not harm you." I chose to focus on my work, not their critique, and it freed me to keep creating. What about deeper setbacks, like betrayal or rejection? Maybe a close friend betrays your trust, or a partner dismisses your feelings. These moments test your self-respect most. The Stoics would urge you to return to your virtues. Act with justice, treat them fairly, but don't compromise your boundaries. Show courage by facing the pain, without lashing out or retreating into self-doubt. Seneca wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that things are difficult. Dare to protect your dignity, even when it hurts." This might mean having a tough conversation, walking away from a toxic relationship, or forgiving without forgetting. Each choice reinforces your self-respect. One personal example, I once worked with someone who took credit for my ideas. It felt like a punch to the gut. My first instinct was to confront them publicly, to demand recognition. But I took a Stoic approach. I focused on what I could control, doing my work well, and addressing the issue calmly with them later. They didn't apologize, but I walked away, knowing I'd acted with integrity. That choice preserved my self-respect, and no one could take that from me. Finally, the Stoics remind us to practice resilience through preparation. They used a technique called premeditatio malorum, mentally preparing for challenges. Each morning, take a moment to visualize a situation where you might face disrespect. Maybe it's a difficult coworker or a critical family member. Imagine responding with calm, dignity, and focus on your values. This mental rehearsal builds strength for when challenges arise. As Marcus Aurelius said, "You have endured worse. You can endure this." By preparing your mind, you ensure that setbacks don't catch you off guard. These tools, focusing on what you control, reframing obstacles, and preparing mentally, equip you to face disrespect without losing yourself. In the next part, we'll wrap up with a powerful conclusion and a call to action to live with Stoic dignity every day. For now, think about a recent moment when you felt disrespected. How could you apply these Stoic principles to respond with strength? The path to self-respect is in your hands. We've traveled a long road together in this video, exploring what it means to live with true respect, not the fleeting approval of others, but the unshakable dignity that comes from within. We started with a simple truth. Trying to earn respect from others is the fastest way to lose your own. From there, we dove into the Stoic wisdom of philosophers like Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and Seneca, who showed us that self-respect is built through choices rooted in virtue, courage, and integrity. We've seen how the modern world tempts us to chase external validation, how that pursuit fails, and how we can rise above challenges to live with stoic dignity. Now, it's time to bring it all together and take the next step, making self-respect the cornerstone of your life. Let's recap the heart of our message. Respect isn't something you demand or beg for. It's something you earn by living rightly. The Stoics taught us that your worth isn't tied to likes, promotions, or the opinions of others. It's tied to how you act, how you think, and how you respond to life's challenges. Epictetus said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." This is your power. Whether you're facing a dismissive boss, a toxic relationship, or the noise of social media, you can choose to act with wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline. That choice is what builds a life you can be proud of. Throughout this journey, we've shared practical tools to make this real. We've talked about defining your virtues, reflecting on your actions, pausing before reacting, detaching from external validation, and facing setbacks with resilience. These aren't just ideas, they're a way of life. Seneca reminded us, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that things are difficult." Every time you choose to act with integrity, to focus on what you can control, to rise above disrespect, you're daring to live with dignity. And that's a life worth living. So, what does this look like in practice? Imagine waking up each day, knowing that your worth doesn't depend on anyone else. You walk into work, not chasing praise, but doing your best because it's right. You navigate relationships, not bending to please others, but standing firm in your values. You scroll through social media, not counting likes, but sharing what matters to you. This is freedom, the freedom to live for yourself, not for the crowd. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That's the Stoic challenge, to live in a way that earns your own respect every single day. But let's be honest, living this way isn't easy. The world will test you, people will misunderstand you, criticize you, or overlook you. There will be moments when you doubt yourself. When the pull of external validation feels overwhelming, that's okay. The Stoics weren't perfect either. They were human, just like us, facing their own struggles. What set them apart was their commitment to keep going, to reflect, to improve, to choose virtue over convenience. You can do the same. Every small choice you make, every moment you act with courage, stay true to your values, or let go of others' opinions, builds a foundation of self-respect that no one can shake. Here's your call to action. Start today. Pick one Stoic practice from this video and make it part of your life. Maybe it's the control check, writing down what you can and can't control each morning. Maybe it's the virtue journal, reflecting on how you lived with wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline. Or maybe it's simply pausing before you react to disrespect, asking yourself, what would a person I respect do? Choose one, commit to it for a week, and see how it changes you. As Epictetus said, you become what you give your attention to. Give your attention to self-respect, and watch your life transform. I'll share a final story. A few years ago, I faced a moment where I felt deeply disrespected. Someone I trusted dismissed my efforts in a way that cut deep. I wanted to fight back, to prove them wrong, But I remembered Marcus Aurelius's words. You have power over your mind, not outside events. I chose to focus on my response, to act with dignity, to keep doing what I knew was right. That choice didn't change their opinion, but it changed me. I walked away stronger, prouder, and freer. That's the power of Stoic self-respect. And it's a power you can claim too. As we close, let me leave you with this. You don't need their respect, just your own. Live in a way that makes you proud. Act with virtue, not for applause, but for yourself. Face challenges with courage, not to prove a point, but to honor your values. When you do, you'll find a peace that no one can take away. The Stoics showed us the way. Now, it's up to you to walk the path. If this message resonated with you, hit the subscribe button and the bell so you don't miss more videos on living with Stoic wisdom. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, someone who's chasing external validation and could use a reminder of their own worth. And in the comments, let me know, what's one step you'll take today to build your self-respect? Let's start this journey together. Live well, live with dignity, and let your own respect be enough